You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 503 for Sunday the 19th of May 2024.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jane.
Hello there, Michelle, and have you had a lovely birthday week? I know work's maybe not been most conducive to having a birthday week, but I hope you've had a good one.
It's been a very busy week, a week of standardised testing and then a management day to just add that cherry on the top of keeping busy all week.
Lovely.
And, yes, and I can't believe it, Jane. I was looking at the calendar. We have got 8 working weeks and 2 days till we break up to the summer.
Oh, goodness me.
So
where is that time going, Michelle?
We've got a week off after this coming Friday for May week. And 9 weeks and then it's done for the summer.
Which means vacay time is getting
whoop,
closer.
Whoop, 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 for both of us.
I know.
Very excited.
I think I checked. I think I was at 105 the day before we recorded this. Yeah, 105 days. I was hoping to see 100 days on with, when you do a little countdown thingy, I think, it must be there. Oh, no, not quite.
87 for me for today.
Oh,
87. Nice. And it's getting really exciting because I've booked the tickets for the Halloween party. I'm thinking about a couple of other little bits and pieces I'd want to do. There's a lot of things coming out from Disney. We had the day announced of opening for Tiana. And then we found out that Tiana's going to have a virtual queue as she opens, so there will be no standby for her, which is going to leave, I think, a lot of people in a state of misunderstanding that have possibly booked a Walt Disney World trip, maybe do not do the level of research that a lot of us listening to this show do, and will just probably think, Splash Mountain's opened up again. Let's go ride it. It's themed to Tiana now. Oh, we can't get on the ride. We're to be up at 7 to get a reservation.
Yeah, and it's a peculiar one, isn't it? Because obviously Tron, there's nothing said that Tron's no longer going to be virtual queue. So you're going to have 2 major attractions in a theme park, both running virtual queue. Is that the first time that's happened, having 2 attractions? I don't know.
I believe so, but it makes me wonder, if you're wanting to go on Tron, how are you going to get on Tiana's on the same day? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
that's really interesting. If you're only doing one Magic Kingdom day in your trip, obviously people are going to think, Tiana, Splash Mountain, Bayou Adventure, will go down that route. So will that lessen the pressure on Tron, and they may think after the opening day in June, let's now move away from the virtual queue experience and have a standby and a let's take your money lane.
Yeah, I mean, the wording was quite canny, wasn't it, from Disney, which kind of opens them up to speculation. And I know the cynics amongst us will go, a standby line, a virtual queue initially. And it's like, how long's initially going to last for? Could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 years now in Disney, because, crikey, we've still got Guardians of the Galaxy on virtual queue. When is that not going to be on virtual queue anymore? Never mind Tron.
It's when the appetite decreases, and if people are still booking those virtual queues and it's easier for Disney to manage the queue experience, or maybe to push more people into getting Genie or getting a Lightning Lane. Like when you think about Epcot, we'll take and go with this one. Test Track's going away. We know that. It's going to be down. I'm not going to get a ride on that this summer. So when you think what there is actually left to do, yes, there's Remy. Yes, there's Anna and Elsa and the Frozen attraction. The other one that does tend to get a bit of a queue is going to be Soaring. But really, there's not that many at Epcot that I would be personally investing nearly $30 of my hard-earned for Genie Plus on that day.
No, I mean, it was interesting. I was listening to a YouTube channel only a few days ago, and they were talking about the fact that wait times are going up, but actually crowd numbers are going down. And what's actually happening is there's fewer attractions overall because they're tending to retheme an attraction rather than opening up a new attraction. It's meaning that you've just got more people waiting in lines. And it's, I watch all the vlogs like I'm sure lots of people do. And, somebody's got up early at 7 o'clock and got a Guardians of the Galaxy, virtual queue, but they're still standing for 45 minutes or 50 minutes in a queue anyway. So you kind of think, well, what's the point?
Absolutely, completely agree. And we've also got to bear in mind that this summer you're seeing the Disability Access Service changes.
Yeah.
And from what I've read on the Disney website, it's just purely going to be a system for specific children that can identify that they've got a developmental disability like autism or similar conditions who are unable to wait in a conventional queue for an extended period of time. And I know there's been a lot of fury about that, and we'll wait and see as it sort of starts kicking in and seeing how it's actually looking. I have seen quite a few really negative things that have been said. I just want to think about a person, for example, who has an issue with, say, for example, they've been through cancer and they have a issue with maybe their bladder, their bowel or something like that. They are in the park on their own, as they are entitled to. So how does the return to line access system that they are saying they can have work when there's nobody in that line for them and they're in the park on their own?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I said I don't think we know the full details yet, do we? And I say once it's up and running, we'll actually have a better idea. But I think there's lots of questions that are being asked and we haven't got the answers to them, which kind of makes it very frustrating.
So we'll see about that. But that system is going to impact possibly on the lightning lane waits being even shorter, because that's normally where they would put the guests with the DAS. So that's going to mean those people who would normally use the lightning lane, if they're not buying Genie Plus and they're not buying a lightning lane, will go in the standby. So the standby is going to be even longer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out because, we're getting into the realms of how much does it cost you to go to Disney World, Disneyland, and whether or not it's getting to that point where it's outpricing quotes on quotes average normal families. And that's going to be really sad if people are no longer willing to go, because not just the entrance ticket to get in, but it's all these extras of Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes, etc., that are taking the toll, I think, on people.
And with the cost of living expenses, even if you do save the money to go, are you going to be able to afford to eat there? Because the prices in Disney have gone up and the portion sizes are decreasing.
Yeah, I was listening. There was an article about how much it would cost a family of six, I think it was, to go to Disneyland, an American family, and they'd purposefully driven there. They'd not stayed in a Disney hotel. They said they were sharing food. And it was still costing an extortionate amount because they were having to buy Genie Plus, etc., because they were there for a short period of time, and therefore to get everything in, they felt they had to do that. And I think this is something that we've said before. We're very fortunate. Coming from the UK, we might visit Disney World and be there for 2 weeks. We've got quite a window of opportunity to get on rides where we maybe don't have to rely as heavily on those extra paid for options. And I'm sure you'll be able to report back in later on this summer, Michelle, and see how it's actually all worked out for you and how much you felt obliged to dip into your purse to pay for those extra bits or not.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's getting to the point that if you are wanting, say, a croissant and a coffee, we have got to the point now where it's going to be almost over $10 to do something like that. And $10 is a lot of money for basically a small treat that you wouldn't normally share, a croissant and a coffee. So my mind is thinking I'm going to be utilising my hacks as much as I physically can, such as using the coffee machine in my resort and making sure I'm getting my caffeination as I'm getting dressed and ready, and then having another one to go with me. I'm going to be taking my own water into the parks with me. I'm going to be taking some little snacks in the park with me, because at the moment, since my sort of hiatus hernia repair, I'm finding a lot of issues with having very low blood sugar. So I'm going to have to make sure I've got little, sort of like snacks of something really rich in protein with a bit of carbohydrate to get that going back up. So maybe some nut packs and things like that, rather than going and joining a 15-20 minute queue to pay $10 plus. So I'm using as many hacks as I know, so that the money that leaves my pocket, I'm going to be sort of having a really good internal dialogue, thinking, will I see the value from this purchase of what I am getting? Is it a worthwhile endeavour for me? And if so, I will, happily part with the cash, because there are things that I really want to explore and try out this year. But there are things that I'm sort of thinking, I probably won't be buying a $6 croissant. Sorry, not going to happen. And when you're thinking you're going into your Starbucks as well, and this is again with an English person's head on, I'm buying my coffee, but then there's the little tip thing as well. And I know that's hit up a little bit on social media, and I don't really want to go down that avenue because I'm not in possession of the facts. But when you go to places, for example, Gideon's Bakehouse, delightful cookies, amazing cake slices, but it comes up on the computer screen as you're tapping in your card, would you like to pay a tip? And I feel really bad then that I'm not doing that and following the custom of the country that I work in. But at the end of the day, it's somebody standing behind a counter, going to a cupboard, getting a treat for me and putting it in a bag. It's not the same as a waitress who would be back and forth checking on me throughout the meal, topping up drinks, taking away dirty plates from my appetizers, bringing me my main, going through the menu with me. And I think that is where, as me as a Brit, I'm starting to think I don't feel comfortable in doing this, but it is the norm in the country to do so. I would much rather pay at price point an amount that ensures that cast member, that person, is getting a livable wage. And I'm not saying that it isn't happening at Gideon's. That is not what I'm saying. As I said, I don't know the facts, so I'm not going on there. But it did have on their little screen saying, would you like a tip? And many other places do that. And I find it really difficult for which is basically a quick serve. I'd never go to Greggs and buy a sausage roll and put a 20 pence tip down. Would you?
No, absolutely. And I think, unfortunately for people that are working in areas like Orlando that are getting an awful lot of traffic from non-US customers, I think they could perhaps bring in an allowance for that element, because other countries operate differently, and it's not actually our fault if we see something. I don't even know if I would see it. In the heat of the moment when you're buying things, and I'd just be like tapping my card and going, and not actually consciously recognizing what the screen has asked me to do. And I consider myself to be quite savvy on A, tech, and B, on other countries' customs. But I think in the heat of the moment, it's just not a natural thing for us to tip in those circumstances. And it's a peculiarity, I think, in relation to the amount of non-US customers that they're likely to be getting travelling through those types of establishments. And also, just to go back, Shell, on the $10 for a croissant and the coffee, Disney are going to have to be careful, because, as you say, you're now approaching your holiday with hacks, in mind to get you through the expense and what you actually need as an individual. And when are we going to hit the tipping point when Disney recognise that they're overpricing for what they're providing, and people will just stop spending money? You can appreciate they can charge what they want. It's their land, it's their theme park, and they're in it to make money. Completely get that. But there's got to be a tipping point when they start outpricing and people just either don't come anymore, or when they are there, just don't buy those things anymore.
Absolutely, 100% agreed. And
Interesting
I've seen
times.
a lot of discussion about this, and I think it's not over yet. So we will wait and see what's going to happen. So this week we do
Yes.
have a topic, because last week we were very remiss, as it was Mother's Day, because we're in the UK and Mother's Day is very much linked to a religious festival of Easter. So it, sometimes it may occasionally happen on the same day as our friends in other parts of the world. But last week we didn't really mention much about it. So firstly, I would like to celebrate all things that are wonderful about mothers. I know myself, I spent the day with my mother many weeks ago when it was our Mother's Day, and I did last weekend as well, and it was really nice. However, we're not going to talk about all things good. I think it's me catching on with this Wicked thing last week, wasn't it, Jane? We're going to see Wicked. It's like, why be good when you can be bad? Because being bad is so much more fun.
Fun, yeah. It was that growing old disgracefully approach, isn't it? Plus, as well, it was double whammy for you, Michelle. Not only did you get to go and see Wicked live on stage, but then they dropped the trailer as well.
I know, and I know it's not a Disney trailer. I know it's from the other company down the road. But I will be going, and it was very interesting to see. From what I've seen on the trailers, it looks very much like it is quite faithful to the Broadway play representation. I'm not sure about the singing vocals of yet. I've not seen it, but I definitely would be imagining there's going to be some nods in the way of awards for the makeup and the costuming, the set design, things like that, because it's one thing that to me always stands out about this musical, that the costume, the music, the makeup, everything is exemplary and creative.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I'm kind of a little bit more skeptical than perhaps than you are, Michelle, because I just would like it to be so good, and I don't want to be let down and it not be what I've got in my head, if you know what I mean. So, and also I think it's going to be two parts as well, but the trailer seemed to show everything, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, why make one film while you can make two?
Well. Two lots of money opportunities. All the cynic in me coming out.
It is. And we were speaking a few moments off air with regards to the announcement that we heard that Disney theme park investment, particularly in the USA, is going to be linked to IPs. So does that mean we are going to get more new IP film production rather than Toy Story 57?
Well, who knows? And surely anything new coming in has got to be well thought about, because it's got to be in relation to the success of anything new. And as that's not been so great of late, it depends how it's going to go. But it is one of those things where Disney theme parks were recognised as always having that IP in there, but also been able to do original stuff just for the theme parks, like Big Thunder Mountain or Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. They were IPs in their own right before they were then turned into films, etc. So it would be a shame in some respects if they lost that ability to do something fresh and different, because I kind of like that aspect as much as I like seeing the IP going in.
We shall see. Anyway,
time will tell. Yes.
Back from our digression, our little wander, a meander down a crooked road, as you may say. We were thinking about the mothers. So, guys, we want you to let us know, who do you think has presented the best case for being the most awful of mothers? And I'm going to start with a relatively new little film. Well, when I say new, it's within the last 10 years. So it's fairly new. And again, I think this film was one of the ones that when we were starting out with Mini Minxes many years ago, so I'm looking about 12, 13 years ago, we had some audio from the press releases about that. So it's brave. It links to our history. So basically, Queen Eleanor is worried about the clans, and she is worried about civil unrest in fighting amongst the clans. So it's thinking, what can I do to unite? Well, just like the royal families of across Europe have done over the years, she's going to marry off her daughter to one of the clan leader's children so that it can help Merida bring strength and unity to the country. However, Eleanor wasn't thinking in the best interests of her daughter. You know, Eleanor should have realised that as her daughter was growing up, she was very single-minded, she was passionate, she did not need a man to make her feel whole, and if she ever would have taken a husband, it wouldn't have been someone that she married for convenience. I imagine she would have married because she loved everything about him. So I would like to have hope. So I was thinking about Queen Eleanor basically being a bad mum because she ignored everything about Merida that she wanted, and it did create a rift. Ultimately, only what could have been her mum's demise, bringing them back together again. So that's my number one, Jane.
Right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit more recent than you have. Turning Red.
Oh, Pandalicious.
Ming Li is Maylin's mum. Now, I think it's one of these cases of the background of this character. So she's very traditional, very overbearing, and that's probably what their culture has brought her up to be. So she doesn't mean to be hurtful or bad towards Maylin, but knowing the history of their family and knowing their origins and this ability to turn into a giant red panda, she keeps that secret. And that doesn't actually help Maylin any, does it? Because she's now dealing with this sudden transformation that she's got no awareness of. And obviously that's giving her this sort of panic and what am I and who am I and where did I come from? And actually, if Mum had kind of held a hand and took her along the journey, it would have helped prepare her for it. And unfortunately, that's an element of almost ignoring what could happen and kind of pushing it to one side. And therefore, if we don't talk about it, it's not going to be an issue. And then, of course, it comes up and literally bites them on the bum, so to speak. So, yeah, unfortunately, I think it's a classic trait in some mums where they try to be a little bit more aloof from their child, and actually a helping hand would have been much more appreciated.
More nurturing, absolutely.
More nurturing, that's the word, nurturing.
So I'm going to go all the way back to the animated feature that begun it all, that feature film version that I adore, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Queen Grimhilda. Obsessed with beauty and power, aka the evil queen, darkness that can lurk within many of Disney's maternal figures. Her portrayal of Snow White exposes a chilling facet of motherly deceit and envy. You know, she was so envy, and you'll see this mirrored in other Disney classic tales all the way through, that this mother is just so awful that what she actually wanted to do was to kill her child so that she could be portrayed as the fairest of them all.
But isn't this the case with a lot of fairy tales? If you look at the true origins of fairy tales, they're quite horrific, really, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Listening in and to find out more about the Brothers Grimm stories, they are very brutal, and they were retellings of old folklore, a lot of them as well. So, you know, it was ways of people entertaining about the evil mothers that are out there, in a way, sort of prophesying, be good to the mum you've got, because this is what you could have got.
Exactly. And I suppose, you know, harking back, folklores and fairy tales were there. They were told to be that warning, that education as well to the newer generation. So, yeah, you're right, Michelle. It's a case of appreciate what you've got, because look what you could have had.
Yeah. A speedboat if you watch Bullseye. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, British reference. British
listeners,
reference.
yeah, but our British listeners would like that, and they'll have a little wry smile, Michelle.
A little wry smile at Jimbo in Magic. And this is what you could have won. You live in the middle of the country, 120 miles away from the coast, and you could have won a speedboat.
Yeah.
Classic. Anyway, go on.
Anyway.
What's your second one, lovely?
I'm going to go to Queen Iduna from Frozen. So obviously Anna and Elsa's mum. Now, obviously, bear in mind Frozen and Frozen 2. So another mum that's keeping secrets from her children. So she doesn't let the girls know that their true origins, the true nature, about the people that they come from, about the enchanted forest and the imbalance that is in there. She also, when Elsa is kept away from her sister, because there's that one accident, and then literally everything's kind of thrown out and go, right, okay, we're going to separate you. You're going to be locked away. You can't touch anything, see anybody. And you've got two sisters who were obviously very close, suddenly becoming strangers just because our mother was trying to be protective, but in doing so tore a family apart. So again, it's kind of a mother figure wanting to do the right thing, but the path in which she chooses to do it is kind of harsh and unloving, or that's how it would appear to be on the outside.
But maybe she never got that opportunity to talk to her daughter about her powers because of her untimely death.
Well, exactly, yeah. It's, you know, it's all wrapped up, isn't it? It's a sad story, and potentially even sadder had Mum not been able to reach out and connect.
Yeah, true. So Mother's Day makes you think of those people also that are natural mothers, i.e. they have given birth. But that is not just what a mother is. A mother is somebody who nurtures, who develops. Sometimes they take on other people's children, whether through adoption, whether through marriage or civil partnership, where they take on the role of being a step-parent. So my next choice is a stepmother from Hell, Stay Away From Me. Oh my word. Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, a masterful manipulator and calculating schemer. Oh my word. Whatever you could think of to put in a spell to make an evil stepmother, you've got it. And the way she treats her daughter or stepdaughter, Cinderella, is like awful. And how she wants to project her own daughters into the spotlight to be able to marry off to the prince. Oh. However, she doesn't really plan to kill Cinderella. But her way of turning her stepchild into a skivvy is not very nice.
No.
Have you got your third one, Jane?
Yeah, Coco, the film, obviously not the character, but Coco's mother, Mama Imelda. Now, this is kind of heartbreaking. And again, it's something that's being done for the right for in her mind the right reason, but it actually makes life around her sad. So, remembering the film of Coco, where Hector broke Imelda's heart, so then Imelda decided that there was going to be no mention of Hector, there was going to be no music in the family. So their daughter Coco was never allowed to talk about and remember her own father, to the point that she'd almost forgot all about him until obviously her very, very, very old years. And it's kind of, you can appreciate why Imelda did it, because she was obviously heartbroken and distraught. But in doing so, she had a daughter that didn't know her father, had got no memories of who he was or what he was about. And then to stop future generations enjoying music, which I think most of us, even if we can't play a note, music is in our lives. So I think you'd appreciate if, a world without music, that would be, not a good place to be. So, and again, another thing, it's these mothers that are doing something that they believe is right, but in the grand scheme of things, they're causing pain to the ones that they love.
Yeah, which fits in with the sort of thing, as a mother, sometimes you do have to make those very difficult decisions that you go on feeling from the gut is the right thing to do. But sometimes it just transpires it was so wrong to do. And it's not like when you give birth, you're given a guidebook of, 101
Crikey.
things that you need to do right. I'd hate to deliver that one. Anyway, I'm moving on to my next one. I have to go with, I love Snow White. I also love Rapunzel, and Mother Gothel is the sinister, horrific, hostage-making mother to Rapunzel, where her deceptive tactics basically control everything that she allows Rapunzel to have in her life. Rapunzel has got this sort of feeling inside her that these lanterns are calling for her, and there is something missing from her life. But Mother Gothel turns the world around her and says it's not safe, it's not for something that you should do, you shouldn't leave. And she manipulated her daughter so much that Rapunzel just did not understand the world around us. And even when she got out of the turret, that beautiful sort of scene with the songs and the music of her sort of saying, oh, this is amazing, but it's the worst thing ever. This is amazing, but it's the worst thing ever. And she's flipping her emotions back and forth because of the mental torment she has been through. And Mother Gothel played on Rapunzel's guilt, her anxiety, to keep her prisoner.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic character. I can imagine as an actress to play that character.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, that's a gem of a role, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, live action, that'd be interesting. Anyway, well, my last one, I'm going to go to Encanto. So, Alma. Now, when Alma's children get their powers in Encanto, she should have been like, oh, there are these wonderful gifts that they got, but she was actually consumed by herself and her own trauma, and she used that as an excuse that those powers could only be used in the way that she deemed fit. So therefore she awarded the affection only when the children did something that was what she deemed was right and that pleased her. So again, it's coming back round to people doing things for the right reason, but in the completely the wrong way. And in doing so, all of the children and grandchildren, they all kind of grew up feeling that they were never enough, that nothing that they could do was ever going to be right, that would earn that love that they were obviously yearning for. And then when you look at Bruno, because she couldn't see what his benefits were to the community, what he was bringing, she ostracized him. He kind of literally hid himself away because he couldn't see what the point was. And it's all derived from the mother, and to have a family that are constantly feeling like whatever I do is not going to be good enough, it's not going to be right, it's not going to be appreciated, it's not going to be the right thing to do. That's not a nice way for kids to grow up, is it?
No, completely not. And I'm not that familiar with the film. I haven't seen it. I know, bad podcaster. But yeah, I agree. I've got one more I just want to squeeze in, and this is a live action one, which has been replicated and made twice. Parent Trap. And this one sings to me as a parent of twins.
Oh, of course. It's not a film I don't think I've seen.
No way.
I know. It's one of those ones where you go, have I, or have I just seen lots of clips from it? And I think it might be the latter in my case.
Well, for those of you like Jane who are not very familiar with it, it's to do with Elizabeth and Nick, happily married. She gives birth to twin girls. Something comes along, the parents split up, and they think, well, the girls are quite young, why don't we take one each? So that neither parent is without a child. But I know that bond between twins is so close. They've, say, shared a room together. I remember Brian and Emily as kids. They'd have their cots next to each other, and they started playing this evil trick on me where they'd pull each other into each other's cot and then swap over. So Emily would be in Bryony's and Bryony's would be in Emily's. And they'd just sit in the bottom of the cots looking at me angelically in the morning thinking, you didn't know how we'd done that, did you, Mum? And
bless.
by choosing to give away her child, even to her ex-husband, they then decide to tell each other that, you know, that these children are just one-offs, that they don't have this twin. And whilst I think Elizabeth herself doesn't get portrayed as an evil character in the film, I think she is, by coming up with such a stupid idea of splitting up her twins, because they must have felt through their childhood as they growed into teenagers, there was always a part of them missing.
Definitely, yeah.
But listeners, you let us know, who do you think is the evilest of them all? Or did we miss somebody out? Let us know. You can always get in touch with us via email, info@disneydreamgirls.com. You can get in touch with us on Instagram @DisDreamGirls, or continue the conversation on our podcast family page over there on their Facebook. Again, before we end the show, we would love to say a big thank you to our wonderful Patreons for supporting the show and making the magic happen for us. But until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.